Welcome to Rewired. Neuroscience meets real life change. This is your space for unlocking intentional growth in yourself and in the people you lead, coach, and inspire. I'm Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Each episode of Rewired blends brain science and real-world application, delivering practical tools you can use right away to create lasting change. Through expert interviews, powerful coaching conversations, and bite-sized solo episodes, I share the neuroscience-based strategies for rewiring habits, expanding possibilities, and living with purpose. Whether you are pursuing your own transformation or helping people navigate theirs, you'll find insight, community, and empowerment here. This is where science meets soul. The change gets real. Hi friends, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training, and welcome to episode 2 of Rewired. In episode 1, I interviewed my colleague and certified professional coach, Satya Beneventi. I hope you had a chance to listen to that. We dove into what couples coaching is, how it works, and even shared a few practical tips people could use right away. That first episode was my safe space, I like to think about. It was my place to experiment, to learn new apps, play with audio, layering audio and different tracks, really produce something and finally hit publish. Today is different. This episode is a solo journey, and what I want to do in this episode 2 of Rewired is to really share how I coached myself and used the power of coaching and neuroscience to help myself in pressing that publish button, honestly, for episode 1. And then what happened right afterwards that was very insightful for me, and I wanted to share. So here's how it went. I clicked publish on episode 1, and then I walked out of my office and pretended it didn't happen at all, which is not an uncommon occurrence for me when I do big things. I just need to check out of the process after I've done something. So I had dinner with my family, I worked out, I watched a great game between the New York Liberty and the Phoenix Mercury, and my team won. And then I just went on with my night. And once everybody was in bed, and just before I was getting ready to go to bed, I just sat down to check a few things out on my computer. And when I opened the screen, my podcast publish screen was still there. I had pressed publish and literally walked away. And what immediately happened for me was that instead of celebrating, my brain went straight into judgment mode. So right away, I went into, this is what I'm going to do next time. This is how I'm going to make it sound better. This is how I want to improve the flow. All important reflections for sure, but I skipped the critical step and the neuroscience-backed step of saying, I did it. Oh my gosh, I did this thing I've been talking about for a while. I skipped the celebration part. I really created a podcast. I named it. I created art for it. I created an intro and an outro and music, and I used 3 different apps, and I interviewed an amazing guest, and I had just went right into judgment mode and forgot to really celebrate that process. So I paused. I used that moment just to sit with it and allow myself to really feel grateful and not just say I'm grateful so that I can quickly get to the judgment part, but practice what neuroscience tells us is the most important part of gratitude, which is to feel it. And I did that. And as I did it, that judgy little inner critic of mine, the do it better voice, kind of went quiet. And I was just able to go to bed grateful to myself for having done something new and something that felt bold and brave for me. That moment made me think about my 2 core values, my top 2 core values, which are joy and excellence. And when I'm living into both, I'm putting great work and energy into the world. But the catch is that they can sometimes cancel each other out. So the drive for excellence, that high quality, the polished experience, the perfect sound, can really bury the joy of creating something new. And I know this, I've done it many times in my entrepreneurship and relationship and family and all the places where we do big, bold new things. I have felt this kind of value conundrum. I love creating. I love making something out of nothing, sharing tools of neuroscience and empowerment, and seeing just ideas come to life. I absolutely love it. So I needed a way to protect the joy while honoring the excellence. So I really did 3 things to kind of help set myself up for success. And I wanted to share those things. They are based in neuroscience, really understanding how we can use our mind to better create success. And so knowing myself, here's what I did. First, I called it a pilot. So to myself and to everyone I spoke with, I called what I was doing a pilot, because a pilot, to me, it's accepted that a pilot is something that you're going to grow, that might not be perfect the first time. We're expecting that we are going to learn from it. So I accepted, when I called it a pilot, what that allowed me to do is to accept that my podcast wouldn't sound like the highly produced shows that I listen to, which are a lot. I devour podcasts. I love them. And what happens in those is that they have teams of people and all the best equipment, and they've been doing it for 15 years. And so in calling it a pilot, I was able to accept I'm not going to be there on episode 1. I can just begin and accept where I am and let go of that pressure of perfectionism, which is where my excellence can get into if it goes sideways. So it gave me permission just to experiment and learn. 2, so first I called it a pilot. 2, I did not overcommit to the details, and I had to be really careful about this. I talked about the idea. So when we had our Empower team meetings, when I would talk to friends, when I would talk to colleagues, I talked about the idea expressly to gather feedback and to let their excitement fuel me. So many folks that I've worked with have either been on podcasts or have created podcasts. So I got to hear their ideas and their feedback, but I didn't announce exact dates or formats. It left me allowing space for questions. So I got to practice curiosity rather than them practicing curiosity on me. So when is it happening? What are you doing? What's your topic? Who are you having? Instead, I was able to say, I think I'm going to do this. What should I know? What have you done? What were best lessons learned? What was your best podcast experience? And so forth. So I didn't overcommit to the details. And the third thing I did, which was my lesson here at the end, was that I celebrated, and I'm really bringing that practice back in. I had to do it purposefully. And now I've been doing it throughout the rest of this process, which is the small wins. I've got my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th guests already lined up. I've learned things already about how I want to do this episode, for example, differently, the sound and the outro, my call to action, all of those things. So whether or not it sounds perfect or whether or not it gets tons of listens or subscribers or any of those things, it's that I'm reminding myself I'm doing it. I am currently doing this. What I have control over, I am leaning into, I'm learning, I'm showing up. And that's worth acknowledging every single time. From a neuroscience standpoint, it's activating my place of resiliency and my place of caregiving, which means that when I run into my challenges, the part of my brain that goes, okay, let's learn from this. Let's see what we could do differently rather than screw it. Nobody likes this. I won't produce another one. It gets my caregiving part of my brain more activated than my judgy part of my brain, which means I'll be coming to you longer, which I hope is good news on your end. So, when you think about your own changes and challenges or new ventures, what are 2 or 3 self support strategies that you use or that you can imagine using as you've listened to this podcast? So, I shared my 3 with you. I called it a pilot. I didn't overcommit to the details, and I'm celebrating even the smallest of wins. I'd love to hear the things you know that keep your brain solution focused, resilient, and open to learning. I'd love to hear that from you. And I'm also curious, do your core values ever clash like mine do? For me, excellence sometimes overshadows joy, for sure. And maybe it's something else for you, and I'd love to hear. Coming up next week, we have an amazing guest talking about ADHD, the neuroscience behind it, tools for working with our ADHD brains, and how to collaborate successfully with others who may be experiencing ADHD. So make sure you subscribe, you leave a positive review, and since us right now is really just me, I say it plainly, I'd love your feedback and your encouragement. Thanks for listening, and remember, celebrate your progress. You're doing it. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired. Neuroscience meets real life change. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd be so grateful if you could take a moment and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps more people discover this brand new podcast and gain the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change.